rolling. Are you good to go?
To go. Good morning, good morning.
All right. I have Clifford Starks on the phone. Clifford, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and what we're going to talk about today.
I'm a guy living a life worth living, having a lot of fun on the journey and supporting others and doing the same. Former UFC fighter, and now I support business owners in growing their life and their business.
And I'm Theo, and I love talking to Clifford every week. Clifford, what are we going to talk about this week?
So I'm actually getting ready to go to a gala, and I'm going later today, and we are supporting authors, people who are writing their books and looking to get their message out to the world.
Very cool.
I'm excited about that.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are you hoping is going to happen at this gala?
I want to meet some really, really amazing connections. And what I love about a book is you're probably going to get two types of people. This is an assumption, but I'm going to find out. You get people who want to share their message with the world because they've been through some really interesting stuff on their journey. And then you also get people who are egotistical. So hopefully they're not going to be at this gala, but we will find out. I'll let you all know.
Oh, they'll be there. They will be there. I'm surprised I wasn't invited. I'm going to be one of those egotistical people who may have also had interesting journeys. You know, that's the best part, right? There's two.
Yep, true. Yeah, I remember I was so my first training, I was a personal trainer, and I worked with fitness competitors. And you'd get the fitness competitors who they thought their shit didn't stink, and then you get fitness competitors who were really, really humble. And it's just life's experiences. Like, I don't even look at people in a judgment of, well, these ones are good and these ones are bad. Like, no, it's just certain people have different life experiences, and they have different levels of awareness. I will say that too.
Yeah, I mean, so you talk about, I do a lot of listening. I wouldn't even call it counseling. I'm not allowed to charge for it. If I were, I'd be sitting on a nice chunk of money. But I always tell people I don't give legal advice, and I don't give good legal advice because there is no such thing. And I always say that I'm not a licensed attorney, whatever that means, because there's a lot of assumptions that go in with, I'm talking to a licensed attorney. And then I hear everybody's talking about coming to me with their problems. What I'm trying to do is help them investigate why their legal bills got to be so big. And actually, and I might set some of our listeners off, but just give it a moment. I guess our recent president, I'm not going to say his name because some people just lose their minds when they hear his name. He was talking about bills being too big and how bills need to be challenged and they need to be looked at, and how legal bills are. He said something like, he threw out a number like 55%. Yeah, I don't know if they were 55% too high, or that's the number you should shoot to knock it down to. But that's what I'm focused on. But then people end up spewing, their stories, and I want to be empathetic, and it kind of helps me understand. It's like, oh, yeah, well, that's going to pump the bill up a little bit, right? And then while they're talking, I'm realizing something. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Right? And the greatest thing that's ever happened to you is the greatest thing that ever happened to you. Right? And everybody's got their own different version of it. Do you remember the movie Night at the Roxbury?
I do.
Okay. So the next day after they met, I think it was Vivica and what was the other girl's name? I can't remember now. They looked at each other and like, we got a number. Like, that was their first time getting a number from a girl in a club or ever, maybe. Right? I mean, that was like the greatest moment in history, right? No.
Yeah.
But to them it was. Right?
To them it was, yeah.
The Butabi brothers, little shout out to them. They're awesome. Night at the Roxbury. If you haven't seen it, you must watch it. So, yeah, like you're going to be meeting all these people who and then they're authors, right? Is it all nonfiction? Is it fiction? What do we got?
Yeah. There's nonfiction mostly. There may be some fiction there. I'm gonna find out because I'm gonna be speaking to these authors and I'm gonna be interviewing some of them too.
Let me know if you see any books that are talking about how great it is to be divorced, and make sure if it says that to file it in the fiction section. I'm not saying to all of our listeners that, if you are in that situation, whether you wanted to be or not, that there isn't maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe that things will get better someday. I'm just waiting to really see real proof of this thing.
I love it. Yeah.
So what else are you? So are you there because you're also going to become an author? Or you have something to submit, or what?
No, so I'm actually connected to the person who's running the gala, and I'm going to be interviewing some of these authors. And I do want to position myself to be in a gala and to be set up, because I'm doing a rewrite on my book, The Fighter's Formula.
I was going to ask if you're running security too. Director of security? No?
No. Although I could be.
Right.
I could do both.
I mean, it's kind of like hey, let's invite Clifford. It's like, yeah, now we'll save money on security too, right? It's great.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, something breaks loose, and you're like, I'm not getting paid for this. Like, do I get a spot bonus? What's going on here, right? That's great.
Yeah.
So your friend that's running the gala, are they just kind of the person who does events, or are they more into the authoring of book side of things?
So they were supporting people write their book, and now they focused on the gala and getting the message out to the world. The other thing, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alex Ramosi.
No, go ahead. Tell me more.
So Alex is absolute genius when it comes to the business world. Like, this guy really knows his stuff. And he writes the most amazing books on getting leads, getting your offer right. In fact, what's super crazy is before you get leads, you want to get the right offer. Because if you have the wrong offer, you're going to get the wrong leads. But that's another story. Anyway, this woman has been at Alex's events, and she gets to see how Alex runs things and how Alex does things. And she wants to help business owners grow too. Because the truth is, what I realized, we all think of things in the way we think of them until we think of a different way. And what I mean by that, we think the competition is outside of us, where we go, well, there's this industry, and it's super competitive, and it's this. When the competition is really internal. Like, are you able to forecast? Are you able to see where things are going? Are you able to see what the marketplace is looking for? Are you able to show yourself as being your unique selling proposition? Are you able to do these things? And I go, oh my God, it's the same thing as if I were to go into a gym, right, and say, I can't get in shape because these people are already in shape. Now, there is truth, and there can only be one.
I'm sorry. That is, you just reminded me of Jim Gaffigan, too. Like, he's like, do you ever go to the gym and see somebody's in shape? It's like, why are you here? You won.
Yeah.
And so that was the opposite. Like, I can't get in shape because, do it again, I can't get in shape because these people are in shape.
Yeah, all these people are in shape, so I can't get in shape. Yeah. And then you'll start seeing it. Like, you really start seeing it. Like, an entrepreneur is someone who solves a problem at a profit, right? So they solve a problem at a profit, and business owners do the same. Well, there is levels to this game. So yes, there's the Mr. Olympia, and then there's second place and third place and fourth place. That's all true. But if you just know how to do the fundamentals, you're gonna look good to the vast majority.
Yeah.
And so what I mean is, if a person's like, I want to make six figures, the billionaire can't stop you from making six figures. They're busy doing their own thing, playing their own game. You don't even have to play the same game as them.
That's true.
Yeah.
In fact,
and you get the win.
In fact, your best chance of winning is not trying to beat the billionaire at the game that he already owns and runs, because he will crush you, or he'll pay somebody to throw you in a trunk and take care of you if you're a real threat to him. Yeah. You probably have to go somewhere else.
Yeah, if you had a person who's just starting off for the first time, and they're like, I'm going to beat Mr. Olympia. Mr. Olympia is not even thinking about you. And if you're doing Mr. Olympia type stuff, you're going to hurt yourself before you even get a chance to get to him.
True. And it's, I'm just thinking about the fight world, right? It's funny because you think, if somebody's a really, really good fighter, you think they'd be very secure with themselves. And a lot of times that plays out. I think more often than not it does, but I've met some really talented people who have very tiny souls, and they're very scared, and they're mean. And that's scary. Like, it's, wow, you are capable of doing a lot of damage. And people come in to challenge them, and it's like, well, and then you get that, like, brazen white belt who's like, I just want to fight you. I used to love, like, the ex-military guys. They walk in like, I'm a Marine. I won't tap out for nothing. I'm here to fight you. And I'm like, hey, this is a class. Like even when I did, like, kind of like bully busting. Remember that show, Bully Beatdown?
Yep.
Classic show.
I feel like you were going that direction because it was a fun show.
Yeah, Mayhem Miller or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was doing the Bully Beatdown before. I mean, this is all like the Gracie Challenge, like the Gracie in action tapes and all that stuff. And I wasn't like dojo storming and going in other places and be like, hey, your karate instructor sucks, I wasn't doing that stuff. I was just doing my thing at the gym where I was coaching. And then there'd be people just coming in like, yeah, who do you think you are? And this and that. I'm like, I'm just me. Like, we're training here, like, do you want to train with us? And I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, okay, And then, like, I didn't get bullied too bad in high school. I was really small, but I kind of, like, never had that jock experience where I was, like, the hero in high school. And, I was more like Daniel-san, just trying to hide from Johnny and his jerk buddies in high school. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's dance, And then I had the technical superiority over them, and I was not always stronger, but usually I was just even stronger, but then also, like, more flexible, more endurance, right? But the big thing is just having the strategy and the experience too, just the experience, right? And then they come in and they do that, and I'd be like, okay, whatever. But, kind of going back to the whole point, like Bully Beatdown and people coming in, and then people who are like really scared, but they're really good. I mean, it's really scary when you get somebody who walks in who's just has no idea what they're doing, but they're like 180% attitude, and then they happen to run into that guy who's like a real killer, but he still hasn't figured out that he's a real killer, or he's just not okay with taking it easy on people. He like actually wants to hurt people. It's scary because they're out there, and we always say like, oh no, like you see like a Jeff Bezos wearing his nice little jacket, and he's all playing nice and waving at people with his nice smile, but he probably didn't get there by playing nice all the time. I'm sure he's had to do quite a few mean things, and maybe they were sneaky things instead of outwardly mean things, or maybe he did have to get scary on people, or who knows how he got there, right? I mean, a lot of luck, a little, some connections and things. But
well, that's like I look at one. I love where the conversation's going, because there's only one piece that people see, and then there's the other thing of like, Who defines good and bad?
Oh.
Like, who defines that?
Oh, this is getting deep. Who's allowed to? Oh, I know. A person who wears a gigantic bib and has a toy hammer that they get to slam on the desk when they're mad.
Yeah.
That's one person. And they get to point to somebody who's got tasers and guns, who's got the keys to the jail to come get you if you don't like what they're telling you.
Yeah, but here's the other beautiful thing about it, because I go, oh my goodness, life is a game of positioning. It's a game of positioning. And so if you're positioned properly, like, let's say you're dealing with someone who has that. And let's say you have daddy or mommy money and daddy or mommy power. And they know, like, oh, if I do this, then this will happen to me. Mm-hmm. Not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, I get this game. This is a game of positioning. Now, with that being said, to me, this is what right means to me. I want to win, and I want others to win. And that's actually not what I did. I would do it, and I would also not do it. There were times where I would look for the win-win, and there were times I would look for the win-loss, and I was the one losing.
Yeah. Well, how was it that you losing was all around better? Can you give a scenario?
Yeah, because when you can be so strong, when you're strong, it creates pride.
Yep.
I'm strong enough to do this. So if I'm strong enough to help out someone who's not strong enough, it would make me feel good. So that was a win to me in that moment. So I'm always winning something, but I got to ask myself the question, is this the right win? And sometimes in that moment it is until it's not.
Yeah.
And so you look at it and go, wait a minute, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah, well, so there's a game that the kids play at the end of the week in my class, and we call it the rodeo. And I always go like, well, I reckon it's about 5:15 p.m. in Wheaton, Illinois, and it's a Friday night. Can I get a yeehaw? And the kids are like, yeehaw! And I'm like, it's time for the rodeo. And then I go, who wants to be the bull? And usually the kid who like knows the least is like, me. Nobody, you don't want to be the bull? That's when somebody's riding you and they're on your back.
Yeah.
And you have 10 seconds to escape. That's the hardest job in the whole positioning of it. I mean, even like wrestling, right? It's like when somebody's got their hooks on you and they're on your back and they're all like seatbelted on you. That's rough, right?
Yeah.
But I don't let the kids choke each other or anything. So it's really just riding someone's back and stand on their back. And so the goal is, if you're the bull, to like just turn around and face the person who's on your back. And I'm putting the kids in a game situation where they have 10 seconds to get out. But they're starting to realize like, oh, I don't want to turn my back to anybody. And, being the bull's hard. Like, why would I want to be the bull, right? Which is funny because some kids then, they short circuit the game. I caught my oldest daughter doing this the other day. Where she's my best junior coach. I'm going to say it out loud. Well, I don't know. My other daughter, she's also, who do I love more? I mean, just kill me. I can't answer that question, right?
Yeah, don't answer that question.
Yeah, but they really are. My older daughter's, more experienced. She's better at jiu-jitsu. She's been at it longer. She's got that more aggression because she's actually competed in an ADCC before against girls who were like 2 weight classes ahead of her, and so she's a couple levels above my little one. But my younger one is also like she's a great coach and she explains the details well. Anyway, so my oldest the other day was doing the rodeo with a kid, and this kid was real enthusiastic and he was trying really hard to win, and then and he got out, right? And I was like, and I'm looking at her and she gives me a wink, like she's like, because what happens is if you're the bull, for example, right, and you escape, well then, that's great. You get to be the bull again and you have another person on your back again. And then you're like, I win again. And then you get to be the bull again. And you're getting more and more tired while somebody else is jumping on your back and riding you. And if the kids are like a big size difference, we'll sit them down so that they're not like hurting the other kid's back or whatever. But basically, you get real smart real fast. And you're like, I don't want to be the bull, right? So if you're the one who just won the match and you were on the back and you're like the new kid who stayed on the bull's back, you get to be the bull the next time. So kids figure out real quick. They're like, I want to lose this so I don't have to keep on being the bull. And you made me think of that when you're like, wait a minute. What am I doing? Like, why has it got to be me winning all the time? Like, what kind of overall result is this producing here?
I love this. Hey, there's a formula to success. There's literally a formula to success. And I'll give you an example. So you're mentioning with Jeff Bezos and luck. And I thought I just got lucky. And I started looking back at my journey, and I'm like, I'm not getting lucky. There's certain actions that I'm taking that are producing certain results.
Right.
And so if you go, hey, who wants to be a champion? Who wants to show up and do the hard stuff? Everyone will raise their hand. But then it's, okay, the rubber meeting the road. And this isn't even an arrogance thing. This is just some people are going to act on it and some people aren't. I'm not here to judge either. I'm just here to say, why? Why are certain people like I would want to be the bull. Why? Because I know the result. If I can keep winning and keep doing the hard stuff, imagine how easy it's going to come game day. Because game day is what we're prepping for anyway. At least for me. I'm not saying everybody's doing that. But for me, I'm prepping for game day. And then game day, I practice hard in the practice room. So when it's game day, I'm ready.
Well, and to go off of what you were talking about, Renzo Gracie had a saying, because he fought Oleg Taktarov in some fight organization that never really took off or whatever. It seemed like a pretty nice event too. And Oleg Taktarov was like, the Russian bear, right? He was the guy who went the distance against Tank Abbott in the high altitude of Colorado, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Oleg, he's unstoppable. Look at him, he's got like that blocky head and those shoulders, and he just, he's not human. Like, he's just expressionless all the time, right? And he went in there against Renzo Gracie, and they started off fighting, and then I don't know what happened, if he tripped Renzo or knocked him down somehow, but Renzo was on his back, and then he's coming at Renzo while Renzo's on his back, and his face just got a little too close to the pop. He just caught him with like an up kick. And it would even be legal in today's UFC, right? And Oleg just falls down, like he's kind of mostly knocked out on his way down, and Renzo sits right up, goes knee on belly and like uppercuts him, and then just starts pounding him until the ref pulls him off, and Renzo's like, yeah, and he's like, and then he goes, and I'm just gonna try to do my best Renzo impression. I think this is exactly how he said it. He goes, the people say I got luckies. He's like, the harder I train, the luckies I get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So
an opportunity.
And so people talk about, they equate like hard training to, success or doing well. And, that work ethic or that dedication, that mindset is huge. And then it's like, that's the first level, is just whatever is like drawing you there, where you just can't, like when you get obsessed with something, it's a video game, it's a girl, it's a guy, it's a job, whatever, like your vacation plans. When you're obsessed, you can't turn it off. It's like, okay, something's going to happen with that. Like this, right? And then you're like, hey, I don't, like when you go, like, I don't care what it costs. I want that vacation. I want that girl. I want that house, right? I don't care what it costs. Like now you're kind of on a journey, but then you're starting to, like, eventually you're going to hit the part where it's like, oh, like working hard is important, but then you got to work smart. And then when you start really learn how to work smart, you start to almost like not respect working hard anymore, or you almost lose the ability to work hard, you know? And it's
you can. You can. And I'll say I have in certain areas of my life.
Right.
But I go, the number one thing to look at, that person in the mirror. Number one, every time. And I remember when I got into entrepreneurship, I started really, really focusing on my entrepreneurial skills. And I was actually backtrailing on certain things that supported me on my journey, like health. I wasn't taking care of myself as properly. I was staying up late nights. I was luckily eating clean enough, but I wasn't doing my cardio the way I would normally do it. I was focusing entrepreneurship 100%. And it caught up to me. I was bedridden for 10 days. I really, really hurt myself. I burnt out. And the first thing that I did was, how do I keep this from happening again? How do I not let this happen again? I'm always looking at me, though. I'm looking in the mirror. Because I can say, well, such and such got lucky. Well, this is why such and such. Instead of saying, okay, how did they do that? How did they do that? How did they beat the court system? I'll even ask a question like that. I like asking. I like figuring, like, how'd this happen? How'd this happen? How'd this happen? I'm very curious with it. And then I go, oh, there's always an answer. And it's not the simple, oh, well, they just got in this position to do this. Because that's just my mind giving. It's like throwing away, like, oh, that's why they're where they're at, and I can't be there. I can't position myself like that because I'm not an intelligent human being who has capability to become what I want to become. Bullshit. Everybody is.
Right.
Even someone with low average intelligence can say, how do I effectively communicate and negotiate with who I am? So I'll give an example. There's people who are far more brilliant in certain areas than I am. And they actually want to support me if I can communicate where I want support. They don't go, oh, you below average intelligent person in this thing, I'm better than you. Some people will. But if you use that as your excuse to not become what you want to become, well, then you're stuck.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, the whole story about the sour grapes and the fox, and he couldn't reach the grapes. So like, oh, they're probably sour anyway and stuff, right? It's at some point, like you can't have it all, especially at any one given moment. You might be able to have almost all of it at different moments in your life, right? And then, like, so you're, like I just saw a picture on the internet of what everybody, they said it was Jean-Claude Van Damme's daughter, and she's doing the splits like her dad used to, and she's flexing just like her dad. And I'm like, okay, this gives me hope that the world's not continually getting worse. It's just like awesome. It's just so great to see the daughter, doing what her dad used to do, and she's looking awesome, right? And I'm like, I used to be able to do the splits in between two chairs and flex and look good with awesome hair. And you know what? Those days have left me. But I saw the picture of her doing the splits. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start doing the splits like for a second. And then I'm like, for what? And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I mean, if I start working on my flexibility again and open, because I had the sciatica thing, and I thought it was because I was doing the splits, and it was actually sciatica, and the pain was manifesting in my hip. I misdiagnosed everything. I let my hips get stiff, so I lost my hip flexibility on top of still having the sciatica, right? You talk about just not being able to assess problems correctly. And going back to the whole sour grapes thing, sometimes the sour grapes thing kind of saves us from depression or overly focusing on something that we're not ready for yet, or that maybe we never really were going to be ready for because We just didn't have the right attitude to have that thing. I mean, if you would ask me, hey, do you want to be Jeff Bezos? I'd be like, okay, I can do the hairstyle for sure. But like, do you want all that money? I'd be like, well, everybody'd be like, yeah, give me the money, And I'm like, well, okay. I'm sure if you give me the money, like I'm going to make a good go out of it, not to mess it up. But I understand that, if you have too much money, you're going to have a lot of problems. And a lot of people don't, they're so far away from ever learning about that or coming close to experiencing that or knowing people who went through that. Because go ahead.
And I think because you hit such a key point in your attitude. A problem is only a problem because a person thinks it's a problem. It's not a problem until they see it as a problem. I'll give you an example. I'd fight Mike Tyson for $1 million. Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you be Mike Tyson for $10 million? I would believe, and I don't know for sure because I haven't asked these people, but I believe they would say yes. And then the question is, okay, what is Mike Tyson doing? What is young Iron Mike Tyson doing? He did not just, he's Kid Dynamite. He's just amazing. No, he built that person.
Right.
He built that person. Getting up early.
Yeah.
Working with Customato, who's like, it's good, but it's not perfect. I want it to be perfect.
Right.
This was a coach who was intense. And so everybody like, oh yeah, I want that result, but are you willing to have the thoughts? Are you willing to have the feelings, or are you willing to take the actions?
Well, are you willing to put up with a Customato? Because he sounds like a great guy all around. Like, he really does. But at the same time, I'm sure that was not great putting up with him. And I don't know how, because the young Mike Tyson was actually in some ways very sweet, right? Like him and his pigeons.
Oh yeah, I think he was great for Mike Tyson, because I'm literally, even as you're saying this, I'm going back into my journey. I had a dad who left me, literally left me, and then another dad came into my life. So to me, I would think I would resonate with Tyson, because Tyson, he's from Catskill, New York. And Customato was his father's figure.
Yeah.
And he took care of him. So I would literally hear Mike talk about this man, and he would go that extra mile for this man. Doing what he did for that man meant nothing. My coach, I have a coach, he basically has a ruler. Not physically, anybody, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
But psychologically, she takes a ruler, and when I'm on, great, but she has that ruler over me every time. Because if something's off, click, click, click. And I love it. I love it, because it allows me to be better. If I can get better for myself and for others, great. And I had to actually learn to get better for me. Because when I'm better for me, it's better for my wife, it's better for my kids, it's better for my community. But that's what I had to learn as a leader.
Yeah, and going back to Tyson, I mean, he was also very sweet. He was sweet, but he was also very wild. And how could you not be if you had such a power-packed body? I mean, I knew a lot of guys who were just physically real studs, right? And it was like, it was hard to behave yourself if you had just that extra heap and cup of energy that other people don't have, right? It was hard not to get in trouble and start problems, and it was hard to like be disciplined and sit there like, you have ADHD. It's like, no, this kid's got like a lot of extra energy.
Yeah, I like using the word just because it serves my brain, and I want to serve other people's brains with it. Harder than we would like it to be.
Yeah.
It's harder than we would like it to be. Absolutely.
But it's amazing that some people just, because I mean, come on, there had to be a point where Mike Tyson realized, like, Customato's not too scary. Like, I could probably, just punch him in the arm and, shut him up, right? And I'm sure that he probably didn't like a lot of the stuff he was, telling him to do. And think about if Tyson had another trainer other than Custom, because people think, oh, Mike Tyson's unstoppable. I can't fight Mike Tyson. You're not fighting Mike Tyson. You're fighting Mike Tyson and Customato, right?
Absolutely, 100%. But like, you combine the two, and I believe, and I would love to have this conversation with Tyson at some time. But I believe.
Let's take a moment to invite him to our show.
Yeah, Tyson, if you ever want to come through, I have so much mad respect for you and what you've done in your journey.
Mike, so, I don't think you're ever going to come on our show because you're afraid. Just kidding. Just kidding. We're going to do this show virtually, okay? But you're scared. You'll never show up on our show. All right, go ahead. We got to do something to get him on. That's going to do it.
So what I saw going through it, I go, that's the motto. He's like, you're going to be the champ. He already planted that in his head. He planted it in his head. So everything that you're doing to become the champ, like, oh, wait, I just have to do this to be the champ? I think he did it with raw aggression, I believe. And yeah, I'm coming through my own journey. Like, when my coaches never told me about being the champ. They knew something about me, though. I love to learn. Loved it. It was infectious to me. And learning to me is actually knowing. Not reading a book and going, oh, I've learned this thing. Like, no, you haven't. You read a book.
Right.
But I'm a person, show me the skills so that I can take the actions and adjust accordingly.
Yeah. I mean,
that's tweak, track.
The knowledge without the practice is worthless. And then the effort and the activity without the knowledge is also, I don't want to say it's worthless, but it's there's still a chance that it's not totally worthless, because the activity and the practice, although it could be destructive, like, hey, I'm just going to fly a plane, without any idea how to do it, right? That could be destructive, but just the act of getting into it is actually building up real knowledge. But, I think, but yeah, knowledge without practice is worth it. Like, I have, so many, moves and techniques and exercises in my brain. One thing that really, someone helped me out, and her name is Tracy. She does Reiki therapy, and then some people call it the laying of hands and things like that. And I was like, what is this? And I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she helped me out with a concept. She's like, hey, you know what, maybe, because I was in a lot of pain. She's like, oh, it's your hips, it's this, it's your back, oh, this hurts. She's like, maybe it's emotional, maybe it's in your mind. And I'm like, bah, that's weak people talk. I'm like, no. Like, I have pain, and you know what? I just have to live with it. Like, this pain is me. Like, I'm not me without this pain. Like, I started, and I'm like, you know what? Hang on a second. Let me just picture myself dropping down into a deep tiger position without warming up. Let me just feel that in my brain, and even without doing it, I'm feeling all the pains. And so something she told me, like, woke my brain up to this fact that, you were talking about, like, hey, Mike, you're going to be the champion. Like, that was a lot of pressure he put on Mike. And, but it also, like, put that in his brain. And so when something's in your brain, and you're big on this, right? It's like, when you can see it and feel it in your mind, it's like, oh, this is huge, right? But then you're like, well, I know how to throw the perfect Superman punch, and when I get in that octagon with Clifford Starks, this is exactly how I'm going to knock him out. It's like, well, how many times have you practiced this punch? How many times have you actually landed it when you're going up against somebody who's as skilled as Clifford Starks is, And it's like,
I actually have a story about something like that, too. The guy was 0-8. 0-8.
Okay.
And he ended up, I couldn't get fights to save my life on the regional circuit. Like, it was so hard to get a fight. And this guy, I'll fight him. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, he's pulling our legs. He's going to back out. Because that's what was happening. I was signing up for fights, and people were backing out.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. So I'm going through it. He takes the fight. We end up fighting. He goes through with the fight. I smash him in the first round. Just to be expected. Like, I was like, I can't believe he took that fight. Holy crap. Because in my head, I'm saying, like, wow, that makes no sense. Well, fast forward. I had a training partner that knew both of us. He knew exactly why he took the fight. And he ended up telling me the story. He goes, yeah, I was telling him not to fight you. I'm like, dang it. Why would you say that? I did as many fights as I could get to try and get to the UFC. And he goes, yeah, I knew you were going to crush him. But he had it in his head that all he needed was one right punch. One right punch. And that 0-8 becomes 1-8. And he beat Clifford Starks. And I'm sitting there like, wow. So everybody's looking for that opportunity. Even if the opportunity makes no sense. Because I looked at that strategy. That's not a good strategy. I wouldn't do that.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, you know, that one right punch. It's just, you know, it's like, darn it, Clifford. Why can't you stand still long enough? Like, what? Why are you messing up my plan? Like, you know.
Just one.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've had people like Jimmy McFarland was a guy who grew up in my neighborhood, and he was like this oversized kid. He may have been maybe off a grade or two. But he's a big kid and he loved to fight, and he loved me because I was one of the smallest kids, but you know, and I don't really remember me starting stuff, but I was like, hey, you know, I look different and I was in a new neighborhood and I didn't know anybody and the kids were real cruel, you know, and I was like, okay, all right, looks like we're gonna, you know, spend some time afterwards at the bus stop. And Jimmy McFarland loved me, you know. He was just like, dude, this kid, you know. But he used to stand there and just let us punch him as hard as we could in the stomach. And, you know, I'm just hitting him as hard as I can. And he's just like, yep. He's like, don't go any lower, you know. Like, don't mess up and hit me down there. I'm like, no. I'm just hitting him as hard as I can. I'm like, he's like, come on, harder. You can hurt me. And I'm like, oh, like there's nothing there. You know, and then there was my other training. He was kind of like my big live training dummy. He was 6'5", over 300 pounds. He was pretty solid for a 300-pound dude. He could kick over his head, and he was strong for his size too. We called him the Goon, and he'd be like, go ahead, Chino, just punch me in the stomach as hard as you can. I'm like, I don't know, Goon, like, if I hit you hard, like, that could go bad for you. He's like, go ahead. And I just go, okay, I'll go like half, okay? He's like, all right. I go, boom. And he just kind of like, brushes his belly up and he laughs. He's like, this is hard, large, you know. You can't get through this. I go, are you kidding me? You didn't feel it? He's like, ha, ha, ha. And, you know, he's kind of a braggart. So I was like, okay. I go, can I go a little harder? He's like, yeah, sure. And so I go, you know, you remember when you're standing there and like the bag's all still and you're just going, pow, as hard as you can with your hips and everything, right? And then finally I was giving him like full hard shots into his belly. I mean, I wasn't doing like a liver shot at him or something, right? But I was just standing there and taking a shot from another man, you know, and not even moving and just letting them just jack you in the belly as hard as they can with like their strongest punch. And he would just brush it off and laugh. He's like, it's hard, large, you know, you can't pierce. And then he goes, you know what? Go ahead. Hit me with a kick there. I'm like, oh, come on, dude. No way. He's like, no. I go, okay, I'll start a flight. And I kick him. He's like, nope, nothing. I go harder. He's like, yeah. And then, boom. And then, like, eventually, like, I'm like Van Damme at the end of this. This is like a Van Damme podcast. I'm also inviting Jean-Claude Van Damme and his daughter on this podcast. Both of you are both too scared to show up, too. So I'm doing, like, Van Damme kicks, like, at the end where he's killing the bad guy. And I'm like, oh, boom. And I'm kicking the Goon as hard as I can in his stomach. And he just laughed.
Well,
so this guy who's going to fight you, like, maybe even if he had a clean shot, maybe, you know, maybe even then he wouldn't have had a chance to beat you. It's like...
Yeah, it's kind of like... So one of my mentors says this, and I absolutely love it. He says, right you right vehicle, right knowledge, right? So the right you, how you show up, who you are, what you display, right? Like a Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, you can give anyone a basketball, that doesn't mean they're going to be Michael Jordan. And that's the right tool. Like you could give them, oh, this is this perfect basketball that bounces in this specific kind of way, and it's going to make your game that much better. But if you don't have Michael Jordan type skill sets, you're not going to play like Michael Jordan. And then you have to have the right knowledge. And so if you can't think like a Jordan thought on the basketball court, you could have the greatest ball in the world. And you can have the greatest ball with the greatest knowledge. You can know exactly what to do. But if you're not the right you, it doesn't matter.
Wait a minute, Clifford. Wait a minute. You're forgetting something really important. What about the right shoes?
Yeah. You put on those shoes like, oh, I feel different. You remember those little ones where you could pump them up?
Yes.
Oh my God, I just didn't pump them up enough. If I would have pumped them up a few more notches, it'd definitely be Michael Jordan.
Oh man, I mean, dude, if you had those on and you just pumped them up just right, forget it. Michael Jordan, I mean, it was like, there was no difference. You know, they couldn't tell the difference between you and him.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I look at it and I go, oh, the game's played in our head.
Yeah.
It always is.
Yeah.
And some people will get that and some people won't. And that's okay. You know, like I say, I'm here, I'm a leader who supports other leaders on the journey. Leaders, either they get it or they're going to get it. Because that's what you get. Because if you don't get it, it sucks being a leader. Like if you don't know it's an internal game, then it really sucks being a leader.
Yeah. They're dedicated to well, you know, it's like there's problem solvers and then there's problem lovers.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot going on in the world right now where it's like, oh, now I think I know why some people love the problem and why the problem never got solved. There was the classic movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas where he's walking around all disgruntled and he just happened to get a hold of a rocket launcher and walks up to the construction site. And he's like, what's wrong with the road? Hey, buddy, you can't be here. He's like, no, I want to know. You guys are always fixing this road. I think it was you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I got to look back at the movie, but at the beginning of the movie, he just got out of his car and started walking because he was sick of being stuck in traffic. And then later on, we find out he was trying to get to see his daughter for her birthday. And then later on, we also find out that, you know, he had, you know, probably like some sort of whatever existed back then, protection orders against him or something. But I think that road that was all jammed up might have been part of the beginning of him getting out and leaving his car. I'm not sure. So then he goes, what's wrong with the road? And the guy's like, oh, you know, get out of here, buddy. But he's like, no, seriously, I want to know what's wrong with the road. He's like, oh, it's, you know, it's that. And he's like, I don't need to answer your question. He's like, listen, he goes, every year you guys are working on this road and it never gets fixed. And I know why. And he starts talking about how he's like, if you guys fix the road, then you guys can't ask for more money next year. So you guys, you stand around here and you jam everybody up in traffic. And he starts going down the whole like conspiracy theory, right? Of, you know, because there may actually be something wrong with the road, right? And he's like, but he's like, listen, you guys are acting like there's something wrong with the road so you can get everybody stuck in traffic, so you can get more money from the government next year and you can protect your jobs. So you're protecting your jobs by not doing your jobs and not fixing the road. And the guy's like, oh, whatever, buddy. He's like, listen, I'm going to make sure you guys have something to fix. And he's like, make sure everybody gets out. And he pulls the rocket launcher out and they're like, hey, everybody get out of there. And he like shoots the rocket down into like the tunnel where they're working on into the road and blows it up. It's like, wow. Right. And so they're problem solvers and problem lovers. And it's funny because you'll walk in. I think we talked about this in like a podcast or two back, where you're walking in and you're thinking you're being brought on to solve a problem. And you might actually be being brought on to solve a problem by someone who may or may not legitimately be in power in that workplace that you're being brought in to fix the problem. And then you realize, oh, there's a lot of reasons why these problems are so persistent. And you talked about, you know, your mindset and the right vehicle and the right knowledge, the right how's it go? Right person?
Right you.
Right you.
So he calls it RVRKRY.
Okay.
Right you, right knowledge, right vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense because you really should have the knowledge first before you start driving or heading that way or whatever, right? So now you walk into a place and you're thinking you're trying to solve a problem, and there are people who are opposed to that. I mean, look at the story of Christ.
Yeah.
He came to solve a huge problem, humanity. And there were a lot of people who were like, hey, I don't like what you're doing. It's like, who would have a problem with me trying to teach everybody how to live in peace and love with each other? Who would have a problem with that? It's like, we do. Why? Well, I mean, how are we going to keep on doing what we do and making money the way we make money and things like that, right? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you guys, and you basically called him out. He's like, you guys shouldn't be doing that. And they're like, ha, says you. You know, we have ways to fix people like you.
Yeah.
And there you go. You have the problem lovers and the problem solvers, maybe. Are you a problem lover?
I'm an opportunist.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I look for where the opportunities are. Yeah,
it's like
everybody.
I'm asking our listeners, like, which one of your problems do you love?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your kids. Your kids give you lots of problems, and you know what? You're like, I love them. You know, it's like, you are the source of, like, you know, not 100%, but like 180% of my worries and my troubles. You know, and it's like it's all so worth it. You know, but when you're going to solve a problem, you know, the whole thing, like, hey, I'm just venting to you about my problem. I'm not asking you for your advice. It's like, oh. I just had that the other day with someone, a client. He called up. He was all riled up because an opposing attorney, I believe, is practicing in bad faith, and they're using just really pusillanimous, small-souled, annoying, very rude tactics, and to really poke the opposing party into just acting crazy. Right? And it's a really dumb tactic. It's just like, you know, it's like, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what? It's like a grown-up attorney version of that. And I really wonder, you know how, like, there's people who have been sued because they taunted and bullied people into suicide online and things like that? I wonder when we're going to see our first lawsuit against an attorney that has, in bad faith, bullied someone into committing suicide, or a judicial system that's done that, right? So there's like problem lovers and problem solvers. So this person called up and they were cranked up, and I acknowledged that they were cranked up, but I was on a whole different emotional wavelength than them. They were at the point where they've lost all of their stability. They could not function right. And then that person just came along and poked them with something so egregiously wrong, so mean, and just to be difficult and just to continue to just mentally and spiritually and emotionally just beat this person down. They're not doing this in good faith. They're not practicing law appropriately. And this person cracked. And I was trying to get through to them like, hey, they're poking you when you're feeling unstable. They want you to do and say something stupid. And I'm going to say that this person is no exception to any of us. You know, if you catch us at the wrong moment and you poke us just right, we're going to do and say something stupid. Have I done stupid things when someone poked me right at the right moment? Have I said dumb things? Absolutely. Will I probably do it again someday? Yes. That's why it's great that we can ask for forgiveness. That's why it's great that, you know, there should be some kind of mechanism there, right? And I was trying to stop this person from really going down the toilet. And they had just gotten so crazy that they weren't listening anymore, and they kept on harping on what this person, can you believe what she told me? She said blah, blah, blah. And it was ridiculous. I'm like, I know, it's ridiculous. They're trying to poke you and acting stupid. And I told them, I said, they're getting you, right?
Yeah.
And then, and I said, listen, I want to get something through to you. And they're, no, you listen to me. And they start turning on me. And I'm not telling them like, hey, no, you're wrong. You should accept a $20,000 offer on an estate that's $2 million. You're being the ridiculous one here, buddy. You should take the $20,000 offer and give her what's left of the $2 million estate, right? It's like, no, I wasn't saying that. I'm just like, hey, wake up. This attorney is just doing that to poke you and make you nuts. And it's working. And, you know, this person's been through so much. I'm not saying I would be any better if I was in the spot, but as someone from the outside who's like trying to throw him a lifeline, it was like, oh my gosh, it's so hard, right? So you're trying to solve the problem, and sometimes people, they're so sucked into the problems. And what do you do when they're so sucked in? They don't want to be in the problem, but now they don't know life any other way besides being in the problem. You know, like someone who's abused, right, for years, they're like, well, what am I going to be if I'm not with this person who abused me? It's like, you're going to be free. It's like, that's scary. I don't know what that's going to be like. I'd rather just go on being abused, because I know what that's like. I don't like, the unknown is scary to me. It's like, what do you do with someone who's, you know, how do you wake them up? How do you help them along to kind of throw them that line or whatever, you know, to kind of get them to want to get out of their problems first, right? It's like they have to see it for themselves a lot of times. It's like they go, you have to hit rock bottom. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, you know, you have to shatter your hips into a million pieces, and then you'll understand why hip flexibility is important. It's like, no, right? So it's like, how do you coach people when they're really, you know, you're kind of working on the success end of things, right? A lot of times what I'm dealing with people who are absolutely destroyed and broken by a bunch of predators who work in a system that's set up perfectly for predators to prey on people just to squeeze every last dime out of them, right? And I love what you said earlier, like, well, how did you win at court? I know a guy who's from another country. He actually went up to the judge and he's like, Your Honor, how much money I'm supposed to give you now? They're like, excuse me? It's like, well, where I'm from, this is how we do it. Like, you know, we pay the judge and the judge makes nice words about me. And then like, they're like, you know, you
public. Stop that recording.
Exactly. Speaking of recordings, there's a whole another big issue. You know, courthouses don't allow phones in, and this is what it's. But then it's funny what the judge told him too. It's like, you know what? You better just go talk to your lawyer. It's like, listen, we don't do it like that here, okay? You give me the money, and I'm part of the bar association, and then I've been contributing to the judge's re-election campaign fund, which they may or may not use all of the money to help them get re-elected, because a lot of times they're just appointed or something anyway. And then when they see my face, they'll remember. I'll give them a little wink, and I'll say, hey, how is your daughter?
Talk with our eyes, not with our mouth.
Right? You know, it's a little different. Now, Cook County's a little more raw. Then I had that one client whose lawyer told her after he was dropping her, she goes, what's going on here? He's like, listen, I never told you this. He's like, but go to the courthouse early, meet the guardian ad litem, the one who's representing her kid, who was conceived in a horrible incident by her doctor while she was knocked out cold. And the guardian ad litem was sticking up for the doctor, the father, the biological father. And he goes, go and catch the guardian ad litem before court. Say you want to meet with her and slide her $300 cash. She's like, are you serious? She's like, can I get in trouble with this? He's like, no. And she goes, what? He says, just give her $300. She's like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, I never told you this. She goes and does it. They go into court, completely different story from the guardian ad litem, and now she gets to see her kid again.
Yeah.
Cook County.
There's let me see. Stages. I think it's 5 stages of grief. I gotta get going after this one, brother.
No, this is good.
So,
it's a good wrap up. We're kind of all over the place today, but it was
okay. Here it is. So the 5 stages of grief: denial, like people wouldn't do that. That's not right. Anger, we need to make this better. Bargaining, well, how can we figure this out? Depression, so sad. And then acceptance, and I go into. So I have a stage past that. So I go past acceptance and go into thrive. Because I do believe, like, look, I want to speak to you, myself, and the listeners. As a leader, I say, how do I make this better? And every time there is a bad situation and they exist and they're all over the place, I ask myself, how do I become the change for something positive? Because there's going to be the negative in things too. It's part of the game of life. Life will life. It will.
Yeah, and so how do you, like, because you get how do you get past the bullies, the people poking you and taunting you? How do you get, you got beat up and it wasn't fair because he had 20 of his friends beating you up, right? How do you turn that around into a thrive, right? It's like, well,
game of positioning.
Well, yeah, one guy told me about this horrible beating he caught in high school. And it was a bunch of guys, and he described it. And I'm like, dude, the fact that you're still alive is like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a victory, right? But then how do you turn that into a thrive? Well, you start looking at how these predators act. It's like, okay, I'm going to be an advocate. I'm going to train people and teach them how to defend themselves. I'm going to get tougher. If God blessed me with life and health after, because something upsetting is going to happen. You're somebody squeezed the toothpaste bottle wrong, and now you have to, or something serious like, wow, losing someone you really care about, like my friend Tony, whose mother just passed away. May she rest in peace, right? And it's like these things will come along, and so that thing you read about how to get through grief is something, but then how do you turn that experience into something that I don't know, maybe it's something that maybe doesn't necessarily make you money, but brings you closer to other people, helps you learn something a little deeper. Maybe that experience will also kind of build some toughness to get through some other, things that are hard to accept sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this was great. So, Clifford, looks like we got to wrap it up. Our time limit's over.
Yeah.
I always say if you were born after 1970, I'm sure we've lost your attention. If you were born before 1970, you probably need a nap somewhere in between here. Maybe, who knows? So, but if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn under Clifford Starks, and let me know if there was anything specific that you liked hearing about, because we want to serve you guys to the highest level.
Love this talk, brother.
Yeah, love the talk as well, and love for you. Let's keep it amazing, and you have a great, great weekend, sir. And audience, you do the same.
Take care. Thanks. Ciao.
Take care, brother.
Bye.